So on
Welcome all listeners.
Yes, yes, and if you guys can see my screen, then please type in yes into the questions and answer box. So basically, what I've done is I've changed the format. So Ricky says yes, Mark says yes, fantastic. Sam says yes. Okay, so I've changed the format of how I do the interviews for Invincible Entrepreneur. So I used to just do a call recording using call recorder and Skype to record the interviews. But then I was interviewed by a guy called Ray Cahoon with Big Fat Marketing, and he actually used GoToWebinar as a tool to do the presentations. And I thought it was such a cool idea that I decided to try it out for myself. So without further ado, let me introduce Lak Loi. Lak Loi is a direct descendant from the Jeet Kune Do training of Bruce Lee. And it's probably best that you actually explain your journey yourself rather than me doing it for you. But the idea here and why I really wanted to have you on the show is because these are thoughts and philosophies that I've been looking into and pursuing myself for the past 7 years. And the first 3 years of my business were incredibly tough. I jumped into it without having the necessary training to actually cope with the stress and the rejection and the constant battle of running and starting my own business, which eventually led to me having a panic attack on the tube in London, just because I wasn't motivated. I just didn't have the training. I didn't have the mental power and the focus to handle things at the level that I was trying to achieve at. So today it's all about learn how to be like water. So my name is Erlen Bakke. I'm the presenter at Invincible Entrepreneur, and Lak Loi here is today to talk about your philosophies. He is one of the very few third generation instructors of Bruce Lee martial arts and philosophy. He is a white collar warrior, and he's going to explain more about that later. And one important thing is that he has a direct lineage to Bruce Lee himself. So he'll probably be mentioning the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, philosophies from that book here today. So today we're covering cope with anything life throws at you, how to remain calm, collected, and calibrated in any difficult situation, how to achieve your dreams and goals and success goals, and probably the most important at all, how to find your flow. So without further ado, Lak Loi, welcome to the podcast. And at the end, we are doing a Q&A, so please, we will open up the Q&A session at the end of the podcast. So hello, Lak Loi, how are you doing?
Hi, Erland. How you doing? Hello, listeners.
So they're actually on mute, so they can't interact right now. But we will unmute them in the Q&A session later on. So tell us how you got started with Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee, and how did that journey take form for you?
Well, my martial journey started at a very young age. I'd say 6 years old, 7 years old, if that. My earliest memories involve sitting down for meals with my parents and really not wanting to stay seated. And my parents having to try and find ways for me and my younger brother to sit down and just enjoy our meals. And the only way they could really do that effectively was to put on a Bruce Lee movie. It was the only thing that captivated our attention. It was a beautiful thing, really. So from a very, very young age, both me and my brother, we were drip fed Bruce Lee movies. And for me, I was captivated. The movement, the passion, the energy, the vigor. Just watching Bruce on the big screen was just momentarily everything coming to life. And that it kind of embodies the whole essence of Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do. It's just being alive and being present in the moment and expressing yourself fully with complete emotional content and honestly being yourself. And I think when you embody all those things, then you are still in the moment, you're present, and you start to flow because you have your own identity, your own signature. And when you find that signature and start expressing it your own way, then you start doing the things that you love and you start loving the things that you do. And that the imprint from the very early age stayed with me till throughout my whole life. And I practiced martial arts from the age of 7, and I had a little gap in between. And in 2003, I was living and working in the States for a Wall Street consultancy, and my first child was about to be born in Hoboken, so over at St. Mary's Hospital there, and
Just across the
just
river from
before.
where I am now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So when my daughter was about to arrive, I I had this sudden urge 3 months before she arrived that I had to go out and learn Bruce's way, and I didn't know that he had developed his own kung fu philosophy. I didn't realize there was a whole philosophical process behind that.
Mm.
And when I went out back in the earlier days where Google really didn't have much information on it, it was very difficult to find. And I consulted all over Manhattan, and I just happened to be up in Midtown
Mm-hmm.
consulting for Cantor Fitzgerald, who were relocated after 9/11
Right.
in Merrill Lynch's site.
Mm-hmm.
And I was up there, and I was quite avid gym goer. So I would popped into the local New York Health and Racquet Club up on, I think it's 46th Street, I think it is.
Right.
And when I popped in there, I stumbled across Jeet Kune Do school, and I practiced that for a year at that school. And then I came back to the UK because we wanted my daughter to spend time with her family because I'm born and raised in the UK. And we came back over here, and I continued the journey. And I started training under Sifu Tim Tackett, who was taught by Bruce's closest friend and confidant, Dan Inosanto. So the direct lineage to Bruce himself goes Bruce taught Dan Inosanto. Dan Inosanto, for those of you who have seen Game of Death, was the gentleman that wielded the nunchucks on the first level of the pagoda in the final fight scenes in that movie. And he also ran Bruce's LA Chinatown Jeet Kune Do school. And prior to Bruce's passing, Bruce was taking Jeet Kune Do underground because he didn't really want his foes to learn his advanced and special street fighting tactics because I think it was quite misunderstood. So he was going underground, completely underground with Jeet Kune Do. And he gave permission to Dan to have a small backyard group. And it was in that backyard group that there were about 16 gentlemen that were allowed the privilege of being members of. And it was a closed group, and each of the participants in that group were black belts or grandmasters in one art or another. They had a Golden Glove boxer in there, and so on. So they were all highly accomplished fighters in their own right and teachers in their own right. And one of those gentlemen was Sifu Tim Tackett. And Sifu Tim Tackett, on a visit to the UK, witnessed me, and he took me under his wing. So I am a certified instructor under Sifu Tackett. So therefore, I became the third generation student and instructor under Bruce Lee's lineage. And my mission in terms of Jeet Kune Do is to help preserve and promote Bruce's teachings so that we can find our personal expression of it for our own personal liberation, self-actualization. and so that we can live our life to our truest potential and achieve our success goals. And I've been utilizing the Jeet Kune Do philosophy, or should I say the way of Kung Fu, to help other people transform their lives so that they can master their own lives and their own destinies.
So most people don't think of Bruce Lee as an entrepreneur. Most people think of Bruce Lee as the guy that was on TV doing martial arts. But the thing with Bruce Lee is that he was a philosopher. So he was very connected with his spirit. He was a martial artist, so he's connected to his body and his way of doing that, and also to his mind. And that we're mind, body, spirit, and he encompasses that. And most people don't know that. Most people only see the top of the iceberg, so to speak. They only see him in Enter the Dragon and films like that. But his book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, is an amazing book, and it's a he was only 32 years old when he died, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So the amount of things that he did in his lifetime is so impressive, because he not only did he innovate martial arts and start a whole new culture, he changed the entire philosophy of martial arts. He's probably the early he's the person that started MMA, right?
Absolutely. I think Bruce did something quite. He broke a massive faux pas, and that was, first of all, to start teaching non-Chinese martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a big no-no in the Chinese community. In particular, when he was based in San Francisco, when he set up his San Francisco school on Sansom Street, he was challenged by all the grandmasters in San Francisco. It was a very closed organization, to stop teaching non-Chinese. And the Chinese community wanted to keep Kung Fu within that social circle. And Bruce said no. He said, I can teach whoever I want. I mean, it went as far as that his first student was an African American.
Right. And Chuck Norris as well as one of the students, right?
Chuck Norris was indeed one of his students and good friends. And as you know, he worked with him in Way of the Dragon in the Colosseum scenes. Bruce was of the mindset that we are but one family under the heavens, and everything starts and stops there. We're all equal and we're all one. And he had to fight his own community, all these Chinese Kung Fu grandmasters, to win the right to teach whoever he liked. And as he did that, he moved on to, he did win, and he proceeded to teach whoever he liked, whenever he liked, wherever he liked.
So he actually had to physically fight them, or fight them?
Absolutely. He fought a gentleman called Wong Jackman.
Okay.
And there's a lot of controversy over that, but Bruce had a bit of an epiphany in that fight, because that fight took him about 20 minutes to defeat him.
Right.
Throughout that fight, Linda, his widow, was there at the time, and she said Bruce felt like he was winded at the end of that fight, and he was at that time evolving and progressing his own foundation of Kung Fu from the Wing Chun aspect. And it was at that point he realized, actually, for street fighting, there were some elements that were efficient, but there were other elements that weren't. So he then decided that it was about time to improve his effectiveness in street fighting. And the way he did that was he started to model excellence. And talking about excellence, the idea of Kung Fu is to develop expertise and excellence in skills and abilities through hard work and practice over time. And what Bruce did was he took that Kung Fu philosophy, and this is not just applicable in combat, but in daily life. But he took that Kung Fu philosophy and he went and studied the essence of what worked throughout other systems, throughout other arts, working with people that were also excellent expert in their field. So he worked with grandmasters and the people that were at the elite level of their martial art. To understand the things that worked, he developed his own structure. In other words, he didn't essentially take the best in class from this art and that art. He took the essence, i.e. the mechanics of what worked, and then he assimilated them into a structure that he developed for effective street fighting, which was completely different to all the other arts that he'd studied. And the idea was that his structure was, the hypothesis behind that was for stand-up street fighting, designed to take your opponent out or annihilate or incapacitate your opponent as quickly as possible within 15 seconds. And the structure was designed for speed, mobility, and power. And so that's how his journey of exploration of the arts and the essence of what works started. And that process that Bruce left behind is the process of Jeet Kune Do. And Jeet Kune Do is essentially that, is Bruce's process. So when I teach Jeet Kune Do, actually what I teach is Jun Fan Kung Fu, Bruce Lee's Kung Fu, the structure, the mechanics, and so on. And the personal expression of the individual is that person's individual Jeet Kune Do. So Jeet Kune Do is very personalized, but there is a foundation. That foundation is Jun Fan Kung Fu, or Bruce Lee's Kung Fu. So that's how it kind of started, and that's how the process evolved, and it came out in an unusual way. If Bruce hadn't passed, I don't think Jeet Kune Do would have been available as it is now. So in a way, in a weird but wonderful way, a lot of people have learned Bruce's way intimately through him passing on and leaving this legacy behind. And as a Sifu in Jeet Kune Do, my mission is to preserve and promote that and help inspire, educate, and empower people with the Jeet Kune Do and the Kung Fu way.
And again, guys, if you listen to what Bruce Lee did here, he went out, he looked at all the different fighting strategies. He probably did subconsciously did like an 80-20 analysis. He looked at what was the most effective things that worked in that discipline, and then he combined it into something new. Now, as an entrepreneur, let's say you're launching an app, for instance, you will look at what other people are doing in those different programs, and you'll say, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. And then you'll kind of take the creations that other people have made, and you'll mold them into something new. And that is how creation works. And that's what entrepreneurs typically do, is they say, okay, the norms and the standards that we're living by today, they can be improved. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross-pollinate different industries. So that's a really cool lesson, and that's what I mean by Bruce Lee being an entrepreneur. And he not only did this in martial arts, creating a new martial art, he did it in movies as well. And another thing that most people don't know is that he was one of the very early people that started thinking about diet and exercise. So he would do, I believe he did eggs and raw meat in a blender every single morning, which is also unique. And the whole trend of nutrition is something that wasn't existent before Bruce Lee kind of started doing it in a big way, and also teaching people to do it. Am I right here?
That's right. They say he was 100 years ahead of his time
Yeah.
in the day. Back in the 60s and the early 70s, there wasn't really the concept of a personal trainer as such.
Mm-hmm.
So for Bruce to be aware of the importance of nutrition, having that 80-20% rule, 80% nutrition and 20% training, physical training, he knew how important the leverage was on nutritional value and content. And he was very particular about what he ate, and he had a very strict program. When it came to the 20% of training, it was probably even more so for him in terms of a percentage, because he would train throughout the whole day in every single corner of his room. He had some gadget where he would train. He could not sit in front of a TV whenever he had this spare moment to do so. He would be doing something. If he was in the kitchen cooking something, he would be hearing something. He had training tools bolted to his the walls of his kitchen so that he could condition his hands or train some part of his body. He was constantly moving, and that movement is where the secret lies. That movement is embodiment of that philosophy, and that movement is exactly how I take people through that transformation. Is the people can learn through theory, but everybody learns through movement, and it's a primal thing. Children learn through movement before they learn through theory. And the martial mind power courses are designed to help you go through a martial movement to learn martial philosophy, to learn principles and philosophies that can help you elevate your life to a new level, towards whatever success you want. And it's those principles and philosophies that help guide us.
This is incredibly interesting because increasingly over the past, I think maybe past year, one of the things that I've been feeling more and more is that entrepreneurship it's a lifestyle. So when I view my life, it's movement, and I've actually incorporated a lot of the things that Bruce Lee has done did in his life into my own life. So in the morning, I do every day. I do some about 25 minutes of meditation. I try to get some kind of exercise every day, and the nutrition and the movement and the health and the sort of spiritual side. For me, it's now like an embodiment of those actions. And it's very interesting that you say that Bruce Lee was always in movement, doing, practicing his skill and practicing his art. And it doesn't sound like it was forceful for him. It sounds like it was just coming naturally. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I think when you look at things, it's about, there's a lot of people out there that they have a desire to excel in something, and they get to a point where they move, say for example, to a point where they become technically good at something. Okay. And when you become technically good at something, it's fine, but you're only a technician. But to truly emanate and the essence of that into all areas of your life, the learnings of whatever movement it might be, or whatever learning it might be, into all areas of your life, that the idea behind that is a transcendence from going from a technician to a practitioner.
Right.
And when you become a practitioner, that's excellence. And in Kung Fu, we call that the 1,000, 10,000 rule. The idea is if you practice something 1,000 times, you can become technically good at something. But if you practice something 10,000 times, it becomes a subconscious response. Your unconscious knows then, and then it's just there. You don't even think about it. And the idea is similar to that of when you learn how to drive a car. When you first learn, everything's mechanical. You're in what's called the conscious brain.
Yeah.
So you're checking your rearview mirror, you're checking your wing mirrors, and if you're driving a stick shift like you do here in the UK, in London, you're very consciously aware, and it's very mechanical and clunky. Checking the mirrors, checking the gears, clutch, and everything else, and it's slow and jerky and so on. 6 months down the line, you've got the music on, you're talking to your friends, everything's really
You're
smooth.
texting. No, don't do that, guys. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I was saying texting, shifting gears, talking to your mate, ordering pizza.
Hopefully nobody's texting, but
Yeah.
but yes, so I said talking to your friends. I said, like talking to your friends in the car.
Yeah.
And having the music on even, is another level of processing that's going on in your mind unconsciously. And when you get to that point of practitioner, everything's natural.
Yeah.
And the idea behind Kung Fu is to become a practitioner in whatever it is that you decide to do. So if you decide to become a doctor, for example, the idea would be to, when you go through your training, you're a technician. But when you really transcend those learnings and they become second nature, then you become a practitioner. Then you can go out and without thinking, you just know. You could be an artist, and again, same way. When you're a technician, you're learning how to hold the brush, how to apply paint from your easel onto the brush, and then applying the paint on the brush to your medium, and you're learning how to create certain kind of effects with the way you move that brush. That's learning your tools and becoming a technician. The practitioner aspect of that is, once you know your tools, is what do you create? What is your expression? That is becoming a practitioner. That is transcending your learning to your own personal expression with your own identity, your signature on it. And that's the level of degrees we're talking about between those two. And Bruce was a practitioner through and through. He was excellent in the way he could assimilate, absorb, and apply his learnings into his art, but not just in a combative sense, but also in a mental sense. And this is where, it's quite important, I think, for me to talk about Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do is like a coin with two sides. One side of the coin I refer to as physical cultivation. That is cultivating the body for combat, for elite fitness. The other side of the coin is mental cultivation, and that's cultivating the mind and the application of principles and philosophies for daily life. And you can't have one without the other. The transcendence of the two is spiritual cultivation, and that comes when you're ready. And it's a process that you have to be prepared to be aware of, and then go down when you really are in your collective mind. And the physical and mental cultivation is the process that I take people through with the Martial Mind Power programs, to help them transcend themselves so that they can really be the best they possibly can be. In the old Kung Fu ways, to be excellent. The idea to be excellent starts when you decide, and deciding is the point that everything changes. That one word, decide, is the turning point. When you decide what it is you want to be, what it is you want to feel, experience, create. When you decide and then add a bucket load of belief in yourself, then what happens at that point is you start finding your flow. And flow and the Be Like Water program is quite an interesting one, because a lot of people don't understand what flow is, and there's 4 states of flow. Do you like me to explain them?
Yes, I would. Very much.
So there's 4 states of flow, and flow has got 2 main components to it. One component is vision, and the other component is happiness. And when people have no vision and no happiness, this is state 1, then they tend to be in a state of depression. And when people are in a state of depression, they need to seek counsel from intelligible sources. These would be people that are in a state of vision, have achieved their visions, and are in a state of happiness, and have achieved a state of happiness on a consistent basis. So these people are qualified to give advice. A lot of depressed people go to people that are unintelligible, that don't have those things, and perpetuate their depression. They could also seek psychological help. State 2 would be where people have no vision, but they have happiness. Now, having happiness without vision is a bit like drifting on a boat without a rudder. Now, the problem with that is it's okay while they're happy, but what happens when that boat drifts into a storm? Then without a vision, they're not prepared at all to deal with any kind of adversity. So that would then put them in an unhappy state. So they could potentially become depressed. So people in state 2 that have got no happiness, that have got happiness but no vision, the idea for them would be then to seek counsel to help them create a vision, to find what their chief definite aim is in life, their major definite purpose. And when they understand that, then they can start creating a vision. Now, state 3 is one where people have a vision, but they don't have any happiness. Now, this is where most entrepreneurs sit. This is where most ambitious people sit. People with a drive and a hunger and a lust to be better than they are, to get themselves out of a quandary or wherever, or rut, or wherever they are in their careers or personal lives. And the problem with this is that they see their vision, they know exactly what they want, but they attribute their happiness to achieving their vision. And what happens then if you timeline to achieve your vision towards the end of your life, then you go through life being unhappy. That's not a good way to live. The other thing is they live in a constant state of stress, worry, anxiety, frustration. So the idea with that one would be then to stop tolerating stress and worry. Just don't tolerate it. Just detach it. And detach yourself from the goal. In other words, have your vision, but disconnect your happiness from your vision and start to learn how to be happy in the now. Because when you start being happy in the now, then what starts happening is you start becoming a bit creative. When you start becoming creative, you start taking actions towards your visions in that state of happiness. And as that happens, and the more you achieve step by step by step, your happiness starts increasing. As your happiness starts increasing, you start to become into state 4. And state 4 is a state of flow, also known peak state. And that's when you have a vision and a happiness. And a vision and a happiness is where you ultimately want to be for flow. But there is a catch, and that catch is most people cannot sustain being happy in the now for a long period of time. It happens for a very short period of time before doubt kicks in. And when doubt kicks in, then people think, oh, well, the outside's not changing. And then that usually results in disappointment and frustration again. And then the happiness drops back down and they regress into state 3. But the paradox here is, if you're looking on the outside to change, that shows that you haven't changed on the inside. So why should the outside change? So the idea here is, don't care what the outside looks like. Just decide what you're going to be, feel, experience, create. Add that belief in bucket loads, and give the outside a chance to change time appropriately. And that is the way to find your flow. And practicing that is the key. It's practice, and it takes practice till you become a practitioner. You know, and that process of finding your flow for some people may take a bit longer than others. But you need stickability, and stickability is to stick to it, have perseverance. Like water is patience and has perseverance. For example, water can wash over a rock. When it washes over a rock over thousands of years, it will eventually erode the rock to carve cliff faces. We've got some beautiful cliff faces over here in the UK, and the south of the UK, in Devon and Dorset, where we held a stillness retreat last weekend. And that's the result of thousands, maybe millions of years of just water erosion. The idea is, when you're faced with adversities and you've got obstacles in your way, is to keep going, have stickability. And when you have stickability, you start going from a technician to a practitioner. You got to get those repetitions from 1,000 to 10,000. That's when you eventually will get your flow. And some people get there quicker than others. And having an optimistic and open mind will help you get there a lot quicker.
So I guess what happens with a lot of people is that, we'll start learning some things. We'll start learning the skills. And then we'll learn some other skills because we'll say, oh, I'm not getting the result, because I think we're trained by modern society that we need instant gratification. So if something doesn't happen after a week or 4 weeks, then we stop. Um, uh, how do you see that process unfolding in the world? Are we becoming increasingly more lazy? There's a really good book by Robert Greene called Mastery, and one of the things
Mhm.
that I liked in Mastery was that it's not, if you go back like 50 to 100 years, you would go and you would train under somebody else
Mhm.
for 10 years, and
Yes.
you'd learn the skills, and then
Yes.
you would become a master. You'd attain mastery after 10 years of practicing. But now it's like 6 weeks to becoming a practitioner, and that's
Yes.
just not how it works. So I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years. It means I'm actually still learning the basic skill set, and I probably will be for the next 7 years as well. I'm still learning the basics. Um, and I believe I'm still moving. I think I flex in between 3 and 4 myself.
Mhm.
Vision and no happiness. I still go back there sometimes.
Mhm.
But when I'm on a call with you and I'm learning and growing, I'm in state number 4 of the vision and happiness.
Mhm.
So it's why do you think we're conditioned that way, to think that everything should come so easy and without work? And what is there happiness in that?
I think it's to do with the way our society is shaped and the way our economy is shaped and the way I think the governments want us to operate.
Hmm.
Corporates are very high pressure, and as we embody this fast food mentality, we order something and we expect it within a minute or so.
Hmm.
Uh, that expectation has now spread its ugly face into all areas of life. And the bottom line is to become good at something, you've got to apply yourself. And I train students in Jeet Kune Do, and quite often students want to run before they can walk. And very often I have to slow them down so that they can understand, in order for them to run, they need to learn how to walk, and the walking process depends on them. Some people have it naturally and they learn
Mm.
it really quickly, like bang. And
Yeah.
then there's others that will take a bit more time. So we say that in what I've seen is there are students that have got it, and those students that have got it in from a martial arts sense, and those people that have got the ability to teach it, is 1 in 1,000.
Right.
Then you've got the second type of student that can develop it. They don't
Mm.
have it, but they have the ability to cultivate the skill and become a practitioner. And then there's a third type that really, really wants it, but unfortunately doesn't have the ability to get there. So we'll become better than where they are now, but not necessarily to the point that they will become a practitioner at the elite level. So
Mm.
you see that wide variety, but that that applies to one aspect. So it could be from a martial arts context, from learning martial artistry. But the person that isn't good at, say, practicing martial arts may be an awesome artist and
Right.
gets that straight away. So everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. And it's really, when you're talking about self-mastery and self-actualizing and really finding the thing that you're excellent at, you've got to go through a process. And I call that process power side forwards. And it's about identifying what your success formula is. It's about identifying where your talents lie, where your passions lie, and identifying the association of people that you need to take you to a place where you can really start to spread your wings and really come into your element, and then acting appropriately. But most importantly of all is having faith, is having the belief in yourself that you can do that. And in the fast food world, people that expect something for nothing or something straight away seldom fall to the wayside.
Mm.
But it's those people that stick to something and persevere, like water having patience, will eventually get there. It's like that saying. They say, my overnight success only took me 10 years.
Yeah,
It's the 10 years people don't see. Is
absolutely.
that one moment that they make their first million,
Hmm.
is that there is what is recognized.
Yeah, and then people think they've always been that successful.
Absolutely,
Becomes a
absolutely,
fact.
yeah. Edison, thousand ways. He discovered He discovered 1,000 ways in which not to develop a light bulb,
Absolutely.
and there were 1,000 ways in 1,000 things that he learned from in order to create that one way that did work.
Mm.
But do people see that 1,000? Honda, Honda, when his first invention or first commercial venture was motorized bicycles, and when he went for funding, he got turned down 1,000 times
Mm.
from funders
And I think that's
until
kind of like a test from the universe to see, to
yes,
say, first we go to test your faith.
yes,
So when you're starting a business, the first test is like, are you going to be able to keep the faith that you can make it happen? And that's how I
absolutely,
felt it with multiple things. I mean, it doesn't mean like everything but my vision was good. I made mistakes on my way to achieving the vision. But many times I felt like this is a test of my faith.
that's
Um,
right,
and as long as I keep my faith, I will have, it'll happen.
that's right.
So tell us more about your programs before we open up for some Q&A here.
Yeah, well, I've got a 8-course program, and it's called Master Your Life. And the
Hmm.
idea is it's a black belt system. So we start off with the red belt, which is level 1, and that's called it's called stillness, and it's about mastering your peace. And the idea there is to disconnect to connect. So
Right.
the idea is to disconnect from everything, and that goes from disconnecting your mobile phone to disconnecting all the gadgets around you, to disconnecting your body from your mind. And when you become present in the moment and still or mindful of everything around you without having any prejudice or judgment, and just having a wanton curiosity about things,
Hmm.
then you become still, and that's an amazing place because you just aware of everything. Then the next level is yellow belt, which is empty your teacup, and that's about emptying your mind, and it's about opening your mind to start letting success in. So you switch the noise off by being still, then you open your mind and expand your mind to new possibilities and seeing things in a new way, in a what I call a divergent thinking way.
Hmm.
Level 3 is the orange belt, and that is mastering your confidence and beliefs. And that course is called Think and Become. And the idea behind that is conceive, believe, and achieve. So whatever you think of, whatever ideas you conceive, if you believe in them strongly enough, you have that burning desire and belief, then you will manifest it and you will create that, because where your focus goes, energy flows, and where your energy flows, that expands.
Mm.
And a perfect example of that is when everybody's experienced a problem where there's been a collective of people around, it's been a minor problem, everybody focuses attention on it, and a molehill turns into a mountain in a matter of seconds, if not minutes. And things escalate out of control. It's a perfect example how energy directed with a focus, will expand that thing. So why not just focus on what you really want?
Mm.
Level 4 is green belt, and that's mastering your awareness and alertness. And that course is called Possess an Eagle Eye.
Hmm.
And my motto on that one, or my quote on that one, is don't look, just see. Now, a lot of people look hard for solutions. They're looking, but they don't see. And sometimes the answers are in front of you. They're right
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So people miss it, uh, and miss the point. They miss the signs, the signals, the people that are offering them solutions and services to help them promote their work. And these people may be turning them away and they don't see it. And it's about not looking, just seeing. Level 5 is blue belt, and that's about mastering your communication and influence skills. And that's called honestly express yourself. And the idea is really to honestly express yourself to your own way to success and winning friends and influencing people. It's really understanding communication, influence, having rapport with people. But the key thing with this is and Bruce understood this in bundles, is having your own signature on it and your own identity on it, because a lot of people will dilute their message to satisfy others or not to offend others. But what if you could say what you want to say in a congruent ecological manner, which is still win-win? What if you had that ability to do that? Then that's pretty powerful, right? So that's what that course is all about. Then we have level 6, which is purple belt, and that's finding your flow, and that's be like water. So we spoke about that already today, and some of the concepts around finding your flow and the 4 states of flow, which is really the key thing, understanding that and to really maintain that peak state of vision and happiness, and have that belief, that burning desire, and stay in that constant state of belief that nothing will waver you off that course. And level 7 is a brown belt, which is mastering your visions. And that course is called Power Side Forwards. And the idea of that is to understand your chief definite aim, to understand what your major purpose in life is. When you know what your major purpose in life is, and you have that meaning, and you have it with absolute clarity, then you know exactly what you need to do. So you can do what you love and love what you do. And that's what that course is designed for you to find out. And finally, black belt, which is the last level, 8, and that's about mastering your success. And that course is called Stay Ahead, and it's about developing success strategies to stay ahead of the curve. So once you have a strategy and you've developed it, how are you going to stay on top of that? And what are you going to do when you face adversities? So have you planned for that? And what your intended actions if something does try and waver you off course? And it's about understanding rhythm, and more importantly, it's about understanding broken rhythm, and that's about mastering your success. So that whole program, those 8 courses there, lend themselves to the whole program, which is Mastering Your Life, or Master Your Life program. And I think I've been blessed with having the insights into Jeet Kune Do, and having the curiosity and the tenacious resolve to learn Jeet Kune Do from the inside out rather than from the outside, and not just from a physical level but from a mental level. And I feel blessed to have kind of applied that outside of a combative arena, but also into daily life. And I've definitely applied it to my life to create my own financial freedom, and to spend my life doing what I love in the way I desire. And I want to share that with other people, because it's a powerful formula. But like you said earlier, there's no fast food fix for this. It's something that requires diligence and determination and discipline.
Yeah. That sounds like an amazing program, and I encourage you guys to check it out. On where do we go to check that out?
The place to go is marshallmindpower.com.
marshallmindpower.com. So guys, I'm going to open up for some questions here. If you have a question for our fantastic guest, then please type it into the questions and answer box. This is your chance to ask questions directly from Lak Loi. Do I use both names, by the way?
Just call me Lak.
Okay, Lak. Fantastic. So, if you have any questions about martial mind power, about Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee, then now is the time to ask your question. So, if you have a question, type in yes, and I will unmute you, and you will be able to ask the question live here on this webinar. So I have another question for you. How are you embodying physical fitness into the program? Are you doing that, or is it mostly mental work that you in your program?
It is a very good point. So, what's really special about the Martial Mind Power courses is they're all developed around movement. So there's the mental cultivation aspect and the physical cultivation aspect, and we use martial motion as a teaching and learning tool for our own inspired learnings. And I quote, I call it: "Move your body, move your mind, move to success."
Right, and move your body first.
Move your body first.
Okay, because why do you move your body first?
Because when you move your body, you're in a primal brain, and when you're in a primal brain, you're unconscious. You can learn things that theoretically you may not assimilate, but everybody learns through movement. You learn how to walk, you learn how to talk through movement while you're moving.
It's in the doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing about moving is, if you make all my movement is fun, and when you make it fun, and when you make it play, like childlike play, then it doesn't feel like you're learning. It actually feels like having fun. And when you're having fun, you're in your unconscious mind. So you take that critical faculty out of the way, and everything's going straight in. And when it's going straight in, you've got it.
Yeah, because then you're immediately on level 2, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's been amazing to have you on the show here today. I really, I'm fascinated by what you do and your philosophies and your course as well. So go to what is the link again?
Martialmindpower.com.
Martialmindpower.com to check it out. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you very much, and it's an absolute pleasure and a humble honor to be on your show today, Erland. And thank you very much for listening, viewers.
Thank you so much.